Welcome in, guys. This is going to be the first installation of a new series. I'm going to be on raw video, putting together my watch list, looking at opportunities for the day/week ahead, and it's going to be an exciting series because I think it's going to show you exactly what I do, how I prepare, and you can learn a lot from this. And obviously there's going to be a lot of great setups shared. So buckle up and let's get into it. I'm starting off with a blank watch list here. So it says 9/2. This is September 2nd. That is going to be the first day of the new trading week. And I like to start each week with an empty watch list, and then throughout the week I'll edit it. And then I'll go back and take from my prior watch list any setups that are still good, carry it over to the new one, look through old watch lists, and then also use screeners. So we're going to do all that today, and by the end of the video you'll see my full watch list for the week ahead, and you'll learn a lot through the process, so hopefully you guys enjoy it. Okay, so let's start things off by going to the prior week watch list, which was 825, and I just looked to see if there's any good setups that are, around. And before we do that, I just want to kind of mention that S&P 500, a little shaky on Friday. We saw a little bit of shakiness, and I think the market, is kind of aware that September is seasonally a difficult month. So we do have seasonality at play, obviously, and we do know that we are in a correction prone time of the year. So we take that, with a grain of salt, because if the setups are good and the market is strong, we will take trades. But in the back of our mind, that we want to know that, seasonally this is not the strongest period of the year. With that being said, most of the trades we take have a tight stop loss, and we're not going to be too affected by a huge drawdown in the market on a specific trade. But we do want to know that because it's important to tread lightly and not take too many trades in a market that is a little bit more volatile, right? It's one thing to stop out of a trade, it's another thing to continuously stop out of trades because you're not adjusting to changes in the market. So right now there's no cause, for concern or panic, even based on Friday's action. But remember, seasonally this is going to be a weaker period of the year, so just take that into account. And yeah, so just wanted to mention that. But I kind of just want to go through the last week's watch list, right? Unity looks okay. I might carry that over. This 40 level was pretty important. It tried pushing through and it just couldn't do it. If the market's pulling back, you can't expect this thing to break out. SBET, this is a stock that I'm going to carry over. It's an Ethereum related stock, has massive squeeze potential, big short interest. This is the type of stock that's kind of in a wedge, and you can get a massive pop out of the wedge and just squeeze higher, right? Kind of like a move like open, right? That's kind of a similar move. This is what I'm looking for. A stock that makes a big move, pulls back, tightens up, and then just explodes. This is SBET, is a similar type of stock where it can certainly make an explosive move with its high short interest, squeeze out. That's what we would be looking for here. Now, in terms of entry point would basically be with a breakout of this trend line with some strong volume, and probably over a prior day high, right? So like on Tuesday I'd want it over maybe 1834. Over that level was stronger than average volume. That would be a possible level for entry, right? So SBET, I will be adding that onto the watch list. Okay, next up. Tesla, no. DJT, another one. It's kind of been wedging and tightening up for a long time now. And it's still, even though it looked like it was trying to break out and it rejected again off that level, it still is making higher lows for the time being. So I'm going to add it to the watch list. It's not my highest confidence thing or anything, but it's something I want to watch because I do want to catch a big move on a stock like that because it has the potential to produce a huge move. FMST. So FMST, the key level would be 332, right? I think, it pulled back like the rest of the market, but it reversed off the lows. I think it can easily target that 330 again and break above it, and that would be a really, really nice potential trade. So I definitely like it. And clean energy stocks have been doing pretty good. Like PE has been doing exceptionally well. This is a clean energy stock. You have a lot of nuclear names that have been performing well. So clean energy, data center type renewable resources, renewable energy, that is kind of like the market theme that has been doing pretty good. And FMST falls into that. I don't know anything about the company, but if clean energy is in the name, then that's pretty much all you need to know. If it has a setup, has the right theme, that's basically the most important components to a trade. Now, doing fundamental research doesn't necessarily hurt. If you can determine that a company is undervalued or a company is growing well and you think it's going to continue to grow, yeah, that gives you that, provides an additional tailwind for a trade to perform well, for a breakout to continue to break out and continue running. Typically stocks that have a reason to go higher are the ones that make the largest and highest quality moves, right? So like Carvana, for example, I like that one. It was completely bankrupt almost, and almost completely bankrupt. And look at the reversal it made, right? Going from about $3 at the low to where it is now nearly 400, right? And throughout many of these breakouts, you could have thought, okay, well, this has run its course. But fundamentally, the company was altered for, the positive. So, someone that is able to determine that as well could have stuck along for the ride much longer than someone who's just trading it from a technical perspective. But anyway, for the most part, if the theme is right, the stock is already doing well, and the technicals are strong, that is the most important thing. But FMST, I'm going to add that to the watch list. Let's keep going. Power Plug, another clean energy stock. I traded this one back on this breakout here. We did pretty good from, I think that was the move I traded on Plug. I'm not 100% sure now, but this is a decent setup here. Friday was a little weak. Everything was a little weak, but I don't like how it closed near the low of the day. But I'll add it to the watch list anyway. If it doesn't perform well on Tuesday, I'll probably just remove it. But it's a clean energy stock, so. Affirm, I traded Affirm. That was actually a pretty nice trade. Faded a little bit on Friday, but anyway, it had this beautiful setup, right? But I didn't trade it because it had earnings later that day. So when I saw it put out earnings and it was only up 3% with this type of setup, I knew that it was most likely going to continue higher. So I bought it after hours when it was up 3%, and at this point here it was up about 24-25% at this almost 100 mark. So that was a nice trade, and I locked in a lot of it around that level. Still holding some, but I think it can curl up here and reverse higher. But overall, like Affirm, this is the type of stock that, these fintech names have been doing really well. Affirm, SoFi. But anyway, like when you have an amazing setup and the earnings are positive, that's going to be more fuel to the fire, right? People wanted to buy this. People have been buying it. And then the earnings are good. Fundamentals look even stronger. You're going to have even more buying pressure. So when it was only up 3%, I just had that kind of feel that it was going to push higher. And I was like, well, let me just, take a stab at it. PL, this is a space stock. I'm not going to add this to the watch list because Rocket Lab is already on is going to be on the watch list. This is a great setup here, actually. So Rocket Lab and ASTS. I traded ASTS last week, but Rocket Lab has been the stronger of the two, so I'll probably pivot to this one. I'm actually already in a position because I took this on an intraday pivot. I took Rocket Lab right here on Friday, so I'm up slightly on the position already, which is nice. I got a good entry point. If you go to the daily, this is ready to break out higher and retest these highs and push higher. So it looks really nice. I like it a lot. Showing relative strength, obviously. it's up on the day the market's down. So space stocks have been really hot, and Rocket Lab goes to the watch list. So basically when I make these videos, right, I'm just thinking out loud. Obviously I'm not talking when I'm doing this, but for the purpose of like recording these videos and uploading them, basically I'm just kind of thinking out loud and, you know, going through my motions. And I would do it a lot faster if I wasn't explaining it. Obviously this would probably take me like 1/5 the time, but I kind of want to explain it so you guys understand what I'm looking at. ASTS, this is the trade we took last week, and I took it as it was breaking out, I believe right here, and you know, it made a strong initial push but started pulling back, and I locked in most of my profits on this day because I was like, okay, well, market's looking a little weak, let me just lock in some profits and I can always re-enter the trade. And it's actually looking really good on the 30-minute. It'll look good on the hourly. So this is a nice potential setup to get a new entry point at a better average, or better average than just holding through this. And now you can kind of re-enter the trade. It's still a good trade, and I think it still has a lot of upside, you know, possibly targeting these highs at 60. So that's a really solid trade. Space stocks are strong. This is just like Rocket Lab, even though I do think Rocket Lab's the stronger of the two names. Like Rocket Lab has a flat top, while ASTS is kind of making lower highs. So typically a stock that has a flat top resistance that's retesting the same high and then rejecting it is stronger than something that's making lower highs. But anyway, they're both nice. Rocket Lab would probably be my preferred stock of the two, but they're both going to be on the watch list. So Open Door was an awesome trade. I traded this twice over the last few weeks. Traded it here, sold it here, and then we re-entered on this day. Somewhere I re-entered at 245, 250, and probably sold for an average of about 450. So really nice trade overall. And here it is now, setting up again for another potential move higher. You know, this could definitely be part of a larger range here before it explodes. You know, something like this, or, you know, it may just decide to explode higher from here. But, or, you know, it's either going to consolidate more or just explode from here. This looks pretty strong, right? It bottomed out. It's been floating higher. I do think that it will likely consolidate a little bit more. My prediction. Anyway, there's nice potential trade opportunities here. If you look on the daily, right, the daily looks as if it's already consolidating pretty well, right? You can see how it's tightening up. Volume is dropping. That's what we like to see. We like to see the range tighten up, volume dropping. Sellers who, like myself, that took profits are exiting the position. New buyers are stepping in, replacing them. The new buyers aren't going to just sell for the price they paid, typically. Sellers wanted to take profits, so you're kind of getting a rotation of the float, which is what typically, you know, settles the stock, declines the volume. There's just less trading activity once buyers and sellers are kind of getting what they want, and then the next wave of buying comes in and it'll send the stock higher. Obviously massive short squeeze potential here. You know, we could possibly see $10 on this. It's definitely possible. This is turning into a little bit of a meme stock, but it is benefiting from the idea of lower interest rates, so there is a fundamental component to it as well. So Open is going to go on the watch list. And then maybe I'll start speeding it up a little bit. DFTV, this is a crypto stock. It's kind of like SBET. I'll add it to the watch list. It's pretty good. Oh, wait. DFTV. MP looks pretty good. I think that's pretty solid. I like it. The risk reward could be pretty good on this name as well, and it's been really strong. So got to deal with Apple, and They look pretty good. Had good earnings. I traded this from like 64 to maybe 74, and you know, it's since pulled back. I got out, and now it's kind of setting up for potential another leg to this rally. So I like it, and MP will be on the watch list. Wolf looks pretty good. Bought it here, got stopped out, and now it's kind of consolidating to break out of the same level again. Also, I'm noting this little decline on these wicks here, this downtrend on the wicks. But it's looking very tight. Volume has declined. I think it looks pretty solid. It is a crypto stock, so if Bitcoin can start to reverse higher and finally put in a low, this stock should have a little bit of an extra push. Iron was a stock I was also in, which has done incredibly well from the breakout level at about 19. So similar stocks. Iron is rallying really hard without Bitcoin, so that is I haven't researched why. It's very interesting to me, but I think Wolf could do the same thing. Hasn't done it yet, but maybe it doesn't necessarily rely on Bitcoin right now as much as I would have anticipated it to. So let's add that to the watch list. I'm also going to add Solar Edge to the watch list. Solar Edge is pretty nice. Another clean energy stock. Broke out here and basically has a key level flat top resistance of about 34, making higher lows. As you can see, it's trailing that 9-day moving average. Every time it taps it, it's pushing higher. So this looks really good. Strong stock, and it'll be a tight stop loss. Like, I wouldn't trade this stock unless I had a really tight stop. It just wouldn't be worth it to me. But I think I can get a really nice stop loss on this and have really good risk to reward on a trade here. So I definitely would be interested in taking this. So RGC was one of the craziest trades of the year, and it's popping out of this little wedge, if you will. You know, it moved from basically 79 cents, a dollar, to a high of 83, split adjusted, and it's since collapsed like most of these stocks will, but it's starting to try to get a little bit of a rally here. And I've just been watching this thing on the hourly to see if there's actually any other short-term setup that could maybe explode this thing higher. I'm not seeing it yet. I don't want to clutter the watch list, but this is the type of stock that can just make an insane move. I think I'll leave it off the watch list for now. I can always check back up on it later, but I don't want to clutter the watch list. BMNR, this thing has kind of just been dripping forever. I could add it to the watch list, but I don't think I will. Last time it tried popping out of the downtrend, it didn't really do much, so I'm not even going to mess around with it right now, especially because Bitcoin is at 108,000. It just isn't that strong. The weed stocks have been pretty good. These are really thin, though. They don't have a lot of volume, so probably stay away from that one. Stay away from this one as well, even though they're both good setups. Tilray has potential, in my opinion, still. I like this, actually, a lot on the hourly. I can get a really tight stop loss here. Maybe getting it at 141. It might target the high of the range. If it can break through that, it can go to 170, 180, and my stop loss could be under 5 cents. So the risk reward on this could be crazy good. So for example, like if I got in here at like 141, whoops, thought that was the, sorry, I have a ring light in my face. Okay, so let's say entry is 141. Let's just say it gets to 170. I don't know. Stop loss will probably be below this range, probably 136. Right, that's 1 of 5. That's, you know, really good. I think I could even cut it down even more, maybe go to 38 on the stop. So anyway, the RR is pretty good on this. and it doesn't even need a huge move for it to be a great RR trade. Like if this thing could actually, you know, rally significantly, maybe to 260 or something, which a stock like this can do. You know, this is the type of stock that can make a really nice move. You know, you're getting a crazy trade on this. So anyway, it's on the watch list for that reason. And weed stocks in general have done pretty well. So as of recent. Solid Power. This is the last name from the watch list last week. This is a great setup. Stock has made a huge rally from $1 to $5 in about 2.5, 3 months. Or this was the beginning of May, so it's been a few months, but the stock has made a massive rally, and it's setting up here. I was watching the intraday pivot here. It's looking like it's trying to make a higher low, and it'll move back into that maybe 470, 480 level, which if it retests that and gets an increase push in volume, this thing could make the next leg higher. And when a stock is running this hard, there is really no stopping it. You know, it can get back to these SPAC merger levels of $10, the SPAC floor level, and once they pass that, you know, typically these stocks do incredibly well. You know, most SPAC stocks, you know, they drop below that $10 floor price and they go to garbage, go to zero basically. But for the names that do end up recovering back to that original IPO SPAC price, they typically do pretty well. We've seen it with a lot of the quantum stocks. So anyway, SLDP, that is really nice. So added to the watch list. So this is the watch list that we currently have. And this is going, you know, this is looking, basically just copying the names from last week onto this week. Now I'm going to go to my TradingView screener. And I'm just going to pick my 2025 swing screen. I'm just going to look through one for this video and just see if there's anything that I like. So just kind of just scroll through this list. If there's a setup I really like, you know, I'll add it to the watch list. So some of these obviously we already have on our watch list, like ASTS, Rocket Lab, right? But Neo is pretty good actually. So this is really nice. Made a strong move and it's flagging up again. This is really nice. So I'll add that to the watch list. Oops. Ring light. Sunrun is decent, but we already have Solar Edge, so I'm not going to add both of them. I'm just going to pick the stronger of the two, which, I mean, Sunrun looks exceptionally strong, and the ADR is about the same at 9, which is a really nice ADR. So, Solar Edge or Sunrun? I might just add both, actually, because they're both really nice, and I'll see which one breaks out better. They'll most likely, if one of them breaks out, the other will on the same day. I just want to see what looks better, what offers a better risk to reward on the entry. So I guess I'll add both. So yeah, just scroll through the screener. You know, there's not like that much right now. Sometimes there's just an insane amount of setups. Bit farms, BITF. Let's see that. That's actually a good setup, but I'll add it. But Bitcoin in general is just not that strong. So if Bitcoin isn't strong, I don't really want to buy a Bitcoin miner. But this is a great setup. So yeah, a little tricky there, but. Hive as well, another one with a good setup. In fact, this is even nicer. So that's actually really interesting. You know, we have a lot of Bitcoin related names doing well without Bitcoin actually breaking out. And when Bitcoin was breaking out, I wasn't seeing that many like incredible Bitcoin setups slash breakouts. So it's a really interesting thing to see. SLI is pretty good, but I don't like the way it trades. Easy to get stopped out on. So I'm not even going to add it to the watch list. Okay, so INVZ is pretty nice, actually. Yeah, this is actually nice. I'll add it as well. And the way, you know, this is how I'd want it to break out. Just pop out of that downtrend with some volume, right? So we want an increase in volume with a pop out of that. That would be pretty nice. So I would target maybe 175 for the breakout level. That would be my target level. So like I set an alert there, so I'll get a notification when it crosses that level, and therefore it's more difficult to miss the move. Okay, so that's the screener. Now typically I'll run through multiple screeners, but I'm not going to do it in this video. I don't want it to extend too long. The next thing is I just have like a list of like about 120 random stocks, and I just like to run through these really quickly, see if there's any setups that I didn't catch. ARK is decent, which I don't have to trade ARK itself, but you know, this is an ETF comprised of a lot of growth stocks, which it looks really good. IWM also looks good. So if you zoom out on IWM, let's go to the weekly on IWM so you can see. This is the small cap index, and it's getting close to this all-time high level. Once it could pass that all-time high level, I think you're going to get a lot of strong moves in these growth names. But anyway, let's go back to the list here. And like I said, I just cycle through this list, and you know, typically I'll find a few setups that I really like from this list. Wow, Ethereum actually looks pretty good. See how it's consolidating here? That's really nice. Hinge looks good, but it's just, I hate the way it trades. It's just very gappy, a lot of wicks, so I'm just going to stay away from it. This is a nice setup, but it's just one of these crappy little small caps. It's under $1 per share, so I'm not going to mess around with it right now. Okay, Low's not bad. I'm going to add that just to have a nuclear stock on the watch list. And if that one's doing good, I'll look at a few other nuclear stocks to see if there's a better setup I prefer. I'd been watching Pony for a while, but again, nothing really transpired here. But if it gets good volume, it can really pop out of this little range, get over the 16 level, and I think it can go a lot higher. So I'll add it back to the watch list because I do think it has a lot of potential. So. Tem is pretty nice. I'll add Tem to the watch list. Made a nice move, finally breaking out of this 68 level, and now it's kind of setting up again, so I like that a lot actually. Alright, so that's going to conclude the video. Here's the final watch list. I mean, it's pretty long already. I'll boil this down to a focus list for Tuesday. There's a lot of good setups here, but we have to remember that the market is going into a seasonally bearish time of the year. If you want to stay updated on that, stay updated on what trades I take, and just overall be in a great community that will help you get to profitability, the Discord will be in the link in the description. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you have any questions, comment below and I will do my best to answer them. Thank you guys for watching again. Have a good one.